Anton, I normally wait about 5 minutes, give people time to join before officially getting things started, especially in case anybody needs to come off mute for anything. But I'll always just ask you to give me a thumbs up, before giving you the floor, just to make sure that you're good and ready to go.
Okay, sounds good.
Good morning, everybody. I see some names, some AI bots, but some names. So good morning to all who are on the call. Hope your Wednesday is going well. Hope your week is going well so far. If this is your first time on the village call, welcome. If this is your first time in a while, welcome back. Um, if you've missed anything, over the few weeks, we always upload our village calls on YouTube in case you want to catch up if you missed anything. I just want to flag this and I'll flag it again at the end of the call. Emily's web series, we'll leave that up for about another week and then we'll take that down and we'll upload it into our portal. As you guys know, we're working on a portal where you'll need, just a village username and password to access certain things. And so that'll be the only Village video Wednesday call that will not be forward facing after about a week or so. So just want to give you guys a heads up on that. If you like to share that with anybody in your network while that's still publicly on YouTube, I would definitely recommend doing that this week. Or if you just wanted to recap, look at it, maybe take some notes, just get a refresher, feel free to do that this week. Another quick announcement. Next week, if you guys remember our Jumpstart, and our Imagine Nashville data, the data that we were really pushing you guys to complete last year. If you didn't know, Erica is on that committee along with Brittany Irby, and a few other amazing individuals. And so they'll be joining us next week just to talk a little bit about the Imagine Nashville data, and then we'll be in person at YWCA office in a few more weeks for just kind of like an in-person village town hall. Super excited about that. So definitely just encourage, your village members or just a friend that you know in the network that would really enjoy being on that call. That'll be next week. I am going to pause in case anybody would like to come off mute if it's your first time and you like to introduce yourself or just say, hey, drop something in the chat. Feel free to do so. Gonna give people a few more minutes to come in and then we'll get started.
Hey, Shekinah. Good morning, everybody. Can I make the request for social now, or should we wait till the end?
I would say wait till the end, give
Okay.
people some more time to come in, get through these AIs. I'm accepting people as they're coming in. Anton, I am going to share my screen. Y'all, please let me know if you guys can see it. Let me make sure. Can you guys see?
Looks like it's still
Yep.
black on my.
It's black.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try this again. Anton, in the meantime, feel free if you want to just, you know, do a quick intro so people know who they're hearing from today.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, Shekinah, for the introduction and for the invitation to address you all. My name is Anton Jackson, and I am with an organization called Rebuilding Together Nashville. Uh, 501(c)(3) here in town, and we specialize in home repairs, specifically for kind of the aging demographics, those over 60 years old, those living with disabilities, as well as veterans. And I'll just share a little bit about myself. I am native Nashvilleian, one of those proverbial unicorns everybody keeps talking about. I went to Meigs, Hume Fogg, then I graduated from Hume Fogg, then I went to TSU for undergrad, was an engineering major for 3 years, decided didn't want to do that anymore, transitioned into business, and then I went to law school. So I attended law school at the University of Tennessee, College of Law in Knoxville, did that for 3 years, then ended up coming back to Nashville, and I served as the Assistant District Attorney General for the local DA's office here for approximately 5 years. Worked on a variety of different projects while there. I was part of what used to be called the 20th Judicial Task Force, which was a narcotics wiretap operation that we worked with local DEA and federal agencies of a variety of sorts. Did that for 5 years, then transitioned into my own practice. I was an attorney here in town, criminal defense attorney, did federal defense, local criminal defense, did some regulatory work with the state, and did that for about 5, 6 years. Then had a kind of come to Jesus moment, had to transition. Actually ended up going through some professional transitions and ended up doing some IT work. But around that time, I joined Rebuilding Together Nashville as a volunteer. And the reason I joined as a volunteer is because they were assisting my grandmother, who was a longtime resident in North Nashville, lived on 21st Avenue. If anybody knows where Ed's Fish is, we're literally directly across the street. And so deep Nashville roots. My grandmother was um,
Oh,
very engaged in a variety of nonprofits. So when a nonprofit that we weren't quite aware of reached out to her to, do some work on her home, we were a little skeptical at the time, but just truly fell in love with the organization. Transitioned from volunteerism into board membership. I was on the board of directors for approximately 5 years. Served as secretary, vice president, and board president for 2 years. And then roughly, I'd say April of last year, the board and our CEO at the time came to me and asked if I would consider kind of wrapping up my IT consulting work and coming in and running fundraising, development, kind of the soft skill side of Rebuilding Together. We'd never had kind of dedicated development before, although the organization's been around approximately 30 years. Mostly it's just been kind of volunteer led up until I'd probably say the last decade or so. Again, because I fall in love with the organization, thought that maybe my skill set would match up and align with the mission, and certainly being a native Nashvilleian, it was something that was particularly tailored to my heart, particularly, keeping older adults, particularly those of color, lower socioeconomics, within their homes, particularly the homes that they've worked, generations to maintain and keep as gentrification and displacement become just rabid throughout the city. So made the decision to kind of pivot off the board into staff employment. And I've been working now as our director of mission advancement for approximately a year now. It's been June to June. So I started last June 1st. And so I just, I guess, celebrated my first 1 year anniversary, which was not much fanfare, but just happy to be here. Again, can't thank Shekinah enough for the invitation. Certainly, Erica Burnett has been, just an incredible leader in this space, and just really appreciate her and the Community Foundation. So I will. I'll, Shekinah, is there any way I can show that? We'll have to show both of them. Show one of those videos. And I just thought that I would bring just a little, we had some videos completed last year uh, by one of our contractors, and it just really kind of speaks to, I didn't give you access, my friend. That's only, let me see if I can. You know what? I won't hold everybody up. I'll send it out later. But no, I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about what Rebuilding Together Nashville does and kind of who we are as an organization. Again, our mission is repairing homes, revitalizing communities, and rebuilding lives. And the way that we implement that is through home repairs. It's home repairs and community stabilization. Again, we serve those over 60, those living with disabilities, as well as veterans, but we do it through what we have styled as a targeted community strategy. Essentially, what that means is prior to about 2019, we had kind of a global Nashville listserv. So anyone that kind of fit that criteria, and we abide by kind of the HUD, the housing, urban development, the national office's area median income requirements. So anyone that is 80% of what the area median income of Nashville, Davidson County, which also includes Williamson County, and below, and fits one of those three categories I outlined earlier, we can largely serve. Area median income for Nashville, Davidson County is, I think, roughly for one person living in that space, about $64,000. So as you can imagine, we can serve quite a number of people, particularly when they're on fixed income. As you can see, kind of our values here that we've outlined. Our biggest thing is we want to be community driven and community focused. So as I was saying, we pivoted away from kind of a general listserv of Nashville, Davidson County, and really decided to employ our resources into kind of the greater Bordeaux area, which is, if anyone, and I'm sure most people on this call are familiar, is the Northwest Corridor. So think kind of, Briley Parkway to the west, I-65 to the east, Martin Luther King Bridge and the Cumberland River to the south, and then Whites Creek Jolton as the north. Anything that is with that perimeter is those that we serve in kind of the greater Bordeaux area. So it's quite expansive. It is, traditionally, historically African American and middle class. And I always tell people that we do not serve quote unquote poor people, low income folks. Majority of the people that we serve, quite frankly, are quite asset laden because their homes have increased in value. And a lot of them just aren't really aware of kind of the growth of Nashville and the valuation of their property. So we serve those individuals in Bordeaux. And we also serve in our second targeted community, the Dickerson Pike corridor. That is, think Oracle and just go north on Dickerson Pike. You'll pick up Cleveland Park, Douglas, into kind of Hart Lane, Trinity Lane on your east side. And then we pick up on the west side of Dickerson Pike, and that includes Ewing Heights, Parkwood, into Belshire Estates. And then we stop at the Old Hickory Boulevard, or where Old Hickory Boulevard and Dickerson Pike intersect. So that's our Dickerson Pike corridor, and we're also completing work in Madison currently as a result of the tornadoes that hit a few years ago into the Nesbitt Lane area up in there in Heritage. So we currently are working in 3 target communities, and we can go to that next slide. Just a little bit about our history. Again, we've been here for approximately 30 years. We actually started as just a merely volunteer-led initiative. A group of architects in town got together and said, hey, why don't we try to utilize our professional acumen to help rebuild people's homes? Building Together Nashville. So we are affiliated with our national partner, which is Rebuilding Together. Most major cities in the country have a Rebuilding Together. We are all loosely affiliated. We are self-governing entities, which essentially means that although we pay affiliate fees to the national office, we have our own board of directors, we have our own charter, we have our own bylaws that we are essentially have to abide. And so that allows us to create our own individual strategy as well. Although we get a lot of guidance from the national office, Rebuilding Together Nashville is a self-sustaining and self-governing entity, which really allows us to kind of tailor our strategy to the needs of the city at any given time, instead of having to worry about kind of a national organization that's not really on the ground and may not be privy to many of the challenges that our community faces. So yeah, again, just kind of going through that organizational timeline. I came about roughly, I'd say 6, 7 years ago, I guess 7 years ago now, as a volunteer, and now having served as a board member, and now as an employee. So been affiliated with the organization for quite some time and really seeing some substantive growth, as you can imagine. I think that's a function of we've kind of gotten out into the community, really kind of built our reputation through success. We've completed, anywhere between 110 to 115 homes in the greater Bordeaux area within that time period, and put, roughly right now, I think the numbers are about $2.7 million into those homes to preserve those homes for folks that, again, have just worked entire generations, much under the I guess many times people didn't want to live in Bordeaux, didn't want to live in North Nashville, and now hotbeds of development, construction. Many of our constituents and people that we serve are being, kind of pushed out, right? Displaced. Everybody on this call is aware of kind of some of the challenges that particular, socioeconomic and racial demographics face as it pertains to housing scarcity and any number of social services. So this is, I always tell people that one of my big drivers for Rebuilding Together now, I'm a big proponent that, the only way that we're going to narrow the generational wealth gap is going to be through education and home ownership. And I know many people in this call are in the education space. There's probably some housing folks on the call too, but it's going to take all of us kind of working together. And that's certainly not in line with any organizational timeline, but I thought I'd just drop that in. So I appreciate you all. A little bit about our financials. Last year was our first $2 million year. This year, we still have, roughly about 20 days before the fiscal closes, but we're due to have our largest year yet. Roughly, I think we'll come in about $2.5 million. So as you can imagine, we are a growing organization, but again, that's a function of the need is so great. Certainly the Barnes Fund, which I'll kind of speak to later, you all may be able to, see through this chart. The Barnes Fund through the city has been a big driver of our fundraising efforts, being able to sustain us, but certainly with some changes at the federal level, with a difficult arrangement with the state politically, the city is trying to figure out how to allocate sufficient resources to housing while still trying to balance the budget. And so I suspect that Barnes will not be as large of a driver of our finances moving forward. So we are working quite strategically to try to diversify into more foundation dollars as well as more corporate dollars to kind of sustain our work. And again, this is really just that was just really just showing kind of our trend lines for funding. And then here's the fun stuff. These are the people that we serve. Our team, I just kind of walk through each individual. Andrea Prince is our CEO. Uh, she's been with us for a number of years now, previously serving as director of programs. Uh, that's me, big smiling face. Have to change that. Stephanie Houghton is our director of operations and to be our director of programs here shortly. Walter Thomas, I can't speak enough about Walter. Walter's been with us for as long as I've been associated with the organization. Walter's our head of construction. He is Mr. Bordeaux. He works, night, days, weekends, has the number of every homeowner probably in that space, and they certainly call him when they need him, which is, on a weekly basis. But Walter's invaluable to what we do and just really an exceptional individual. Kip Patrick. Kip leads our long-term recovery, primarily in Madison. We work with VOAD, which is, I'm going to destroy the acronym, but essentially VOAD is what is initiated in disaster scenarios throughout the city. We are a member of VOAD. And we are the lead of construction for the long-term recovery group. And Mr. Patrick is the one that spearheads that on behalf of the organization. Abdi Khalik Farah. Abdi is our construction coordinator, originally from Somalia. He is just an incredibly thoughtful and brilliant person. Abdi comes, as you can imagine, multilingual, incredibly well-versed in the construction space. He was an engineer originally in his home of Somalia. Built wells. I mean, just basic infrastructure, as you can imagine. He is hoping to bring his family over, and so we are really excited to have Mr. Farrell on our team, and he also really is a strategic piece as we think about kind of integrating more into the southeastern part of Davidson County, where there really will be a need for more multilingual, bilingual individuals on our team to be able to really identify and build relationships with those in that sector of the city. And last but not least is Maggie House. Maggie just joined us 3 months, or I'm sorry, 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Outreach coordinator, just a brilliant young woman. She works, again, we have not had a development team, a dedicated development team until I started in my role. Maggie is on my team, just really, grateful to have her. She'll be spearheading a lot of our outreach, a lot of our coordination with homeowners. She'll be working on our corporate build days, really building out our social media marketing strategy, and working to implement our comms and marketing plan as well. So that's our team. We are, small, as we say, but mighty, and just each individual is really just an important piece of the proverbial puzzle. As we talk about kind of our target communities, one of the interesting things was, how do we select where we're going to go? Back in 2019, we decided to complete what we call windshield surveys, which is essentially just teams of individuals driving around trying to ascertain what parts of the city really needed us most. We've been able, over the last few years, to kind of transition that into a more data-driven with all the various data sets that have come about. Imagine Nashville has obviously been an important part of that. Certainly, the various studies of housing completed by Sycamore Institute, Think Tennessee. There's just a bevy of data now to kind of outline where the greatest need is. So we selected Bordeaux primarily because it was such a homogeneous part of the city. It's very close knit, as many of you all know. A lot of communication, a lot of churches, and really gave us the opportunity to really try to build a template that we could implement across the city. So Bordeaux has just been really, really good to us. Again, I grew up on the kind of in the Whites Creek area. I have deep roots in North Nashville. My grandparents, just tons of family. So Bordeaux has always been, I've always been in Bordeaux, although never actually lived there, but it's been a part of my heart and part of my growth. So it was really important for us to kind of focus those efforts in the community, that we would be well received, and also that we could create value. And we've been fortunate enough to do that. We've pivoted into the Dickerson Pike corridor with the intention of not leaving Bordeaux. Our strategy is one of sustainability. So we do not want to leave a target community. We want to sustain it. So now that we're actually circling back many times for homeowners that we've previously served with kind of supportive initiatives that we've rolled out here in the last 18 months. So target communities, that's really kind of how we've gone about selecting them. Dickerson Pike was very similar. We used a windshield study in conjunction with kind of a more data-driven approach. And as we select our third and fourth target communities here in the next, I'd say 1 to 3 years, it will be largely kind of a data-driven initiative. So I spoke to Bordeaux, just an incredible place. The history, I know we've actually had a study done on the actual history of it that goes back to like post-Civil War, which is really impressive. Um, when I tell the history of Bordeaux, I like to go back to kind of, civil rights era, kind of redlining that predated the civil rights era. Many times, as many of you all know, again, speaking to folks that are quite knowledgeable, Black folks just couldn't simply live wherever they wanted, right? And so redlining was just quite abominable, particularly here in Nashville. Bordeaux was quite frankly where the elite lived. I remember growing up, everybody called it the Black Belt Mead, Gold Coast up there, Enchanted Hills, doctors and the lawyers and kind of the leaders in the Black community lived. And so I think that it's an incredibly valuable part of not just Black Nashville's history, but Nashville's history. Because quite frankly, without Bordeaux, this city would not have been able to sustain a lot of its recent growth without it. So I'm a big proponent of trying to preserve as much of that history as possible. And as a part of it, preserving the wealth that's generated by new development and kind of the So yeah, so and I can share a little bit about Bordeaux. We have some videos again that I can certainly send to the village and can be disseminated. The Dickerson Pike initiative, one thing that was really interesting about Dickerson Pike is Dickerson Pike was our second, or came in second when we were going through the Bordeaux evaluation. And by the time we pivoted back to start the Dickerson Pike initiative, roughly 2023-ish, most of the homeowners that we identified in 2019 were gone. They had been gentrified and displaced. If you look at Dickerson Pike, again, the way I like to think about the Dickerson Pike initiative is that really Dickerson Pike is an extension of the East Bank. We know what's going on with the East Bank, all the development, all the resources that have been plowed into it. And then you start thinking of, as you come up the Cumberland River, you have River North, where Topgolf is located. That's Oracle's campus, the immense wealth that has been generated and will continue to be generated by that campus and its connectivity to Germantown on the other side of the river really has put a lot of displacement pressures on those right in that immediate corridor. So you all may remember, if you all been around here quite some time, Dickerson Pike used to be relatively low income, some MDHA housing. It was predominantly African American, kind of in that Cleveland Park, Douglas locale, right there, kind of north of downtown Nashville, and quite frankly, it has been almost completely gentrified. Um, what we're seeing that is so challenging is there are still pockets of homeowners, older homeowners, that have been able to retain their property. They don't want to sell. But again, as folks get older, certainly the pressures of maintenance, the tax pressures, everybody I'm sure got a tax bill, lives in Davidson County, or owns a home, and realized, kind of the exponential growth of the value of property that has tax implications, that has insurance implications. And as you can imagine, those implications, in conjunction with a fixed income, leads people to a lot of times make decisions they wouldn't otherwise make. A lot, last they'll just simply sell to somebody sends them a letter in the mail, $250,000 cash for your home. Hey, if you need some maintenance around the house, you need a new roof. It seems like a lot of money until you realize you're not able to buy back into Davidson County. So what we've seen in Dickerson Pike is a lot of migration outside of Davidson County. From the Dickerson Pike, and quite frankly, from the Bordeaux area as well, kind of into White House, Springfield, Ashland City, and quite frankly, the lower socioeconomic members of our community are just finding refuge in Clarksville. A lot of kind of that northern Davidson County African American demographic is migrating to Clarksville simply because the cost of living here in Davidson County is just too high. And so we're really trying to serve as a bulwark, in Bordeaux and Dickerson Pike to kind of, we're not going to stop any of development, and we certainly don't intend to, but we do want people to be able to remain in their homes for as long as they like to. And kind of in addition to that, we want to build out a relationship with some of our corporate financial institutions, some of the law firms that we've been able to build relationships with, and start really thinking in terms of financial wellness and estate planning as a way to capture generational wealth in these communities so that people can make informed decisions about how they want to disseminate their estate upon their death. Again, with the cost, and I'll say particularly in Dickerson Pike, with the increase in property values there, opportunity truly to create Black millionaires through home ownership and home retention. And that is something that particularly drives me. I think that economic empowerment is essential to a lot of the issues that our communities face. And so the more that we can kind of capture wealth for these communities and allow them to make informed decisions about how they want to disseminate their wealth throughout generations, hopefully we can start to, create a dip, perpetual and now growing wealth gap among the African American community in comparison to other racial demographics. So our community partnerships, we really have been strategic, I'd say, in the last 5 years of thinking about how to build viable, sustainable relationships. So one of the classic examples, we had a former employee who recently left. She was working on a project, home repair project, with one of our homeowners, and realized that we had grandchildren and great-grandchildren who were living in the home that were not enrolled in schools. And they also, as you can imagine, because Bordeaux in particular is very much a food desert. You got, I think, a Hills up there, and maybe and obviously you have Kroger, but food insecurity is something that unfortunately is an issue that is rife in the communities in which we serve. So we really wanted to be strategic about building out kind of more holistic services. Again, we're not going to solve food insecurity. We're a home repairs apparatus, but by building our relationships with the store, Second Harvest, there's a farm up in Jolton, By Faith Farm, that literally just grows food and gives it away. also work with the Vanderbilt University School of Nursing. They've just been incredibly invaluable in building out a social determinants of health tool that we've been able to implement and build upon over the last few years to really identify what other challenges that face the communities that we serve. As we all know, housing is just one aspect of kind of the social services gap that many folks face. So by thinking through the social determinants of health that are, kind of, wrap around to housing, whether that's mental health, we work with the Black Mental Health Village, we work with Metro Health, obviously work with Vanderbilt University, whether it's food insecurity with the number of institutions that was that Benias? The number of institutions that or the institutions that I just kind of outlined, and also again that estate planning and financial literacy aspect, working with Operation Hope. Tanisha over there has just been exceptional. She's housed at Citizens Bank, I believe. And then some of our financial partners, Pinnacle, Regions, Trust and Trust. We really have really built out, quite sustainable relationships in that kind of in that financial sphere. And then kind of the last overture, as I was kind of outlining earlier, as a former attorney, I really am big on this estate planning proposition. So we've made some overtures to Belmont Law, LAW, which is a local association of attorneys, have intentions of reaching out to Napier Luby, building a relationship there. And Judge Allegra Walker, who many of you may be familiar with, we're putting together a pilot with her court, environmental court, which is the court that handles all codes violations. Anyone throughout the city that fits our general demographic that we could serve, irrespective of their geographic constraints. So if they live in Woodbine, if they live in Antioch, if they live in West Nashville, and they are in environmental court, we will be able to serve them on codes remediation. So we are really thinking in terms of how to be more than just simply a repair institution. We want to be more of a holistic institution that serves the needs of the greater community. So we, the community advisory committees are really our kind of boots on the ground. Those are the individuals who, for whether they either work in the community, live in the community, many of them are those individuals that we've actually served. They are the kind of our voice in the community. They kind of challenge us to ensure that we are mission aligned and not too preoccupied with what's going on downtown and focused on the communities that we serve. We have one obviously in Bordeaux that has been really instrumental for the growth of the organization. And Dickerson Pike, we're currently adding members to it as we kind of ramp up and do more work in that space. So we're really just incredibly grateful to have these individuals. And there are some names that I haven't added on, but they are just an incredibly invaluable part of what we do. And quite frankly, we couldn't complete this work at the scale that we have without them. So our general program, obviously home repairs, are vested in the Safe and Healthy Home Improvement Program. That's our SHIP program. And SHIP has two prongs. It has the critical repairs prong and it has the rapid repairs prong. And really the only difference is going to be funding. Anything that is designated as $5,000 and less is a rapid repair. And that's something that we can do relatively easy using our contractors and our strategic partners, our corporate partners and their employees that are essentially our volunteers. We can complete those projects if they're under $5,000 and really kind of serve as kind of a quick fix, if you will, for just kind of general issues. Much of the codes remediation that we'll be doing will be vested kind of in that prong. But the lion's share of what we do is going to be critical repairs. Our critical repairs right now include, anything housing related: roofs, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. We actually implement a 25-point safe and healthy home checklist. So once you are approved into the program, our team goes out, they complete the 25-point checklist, check for things that are immediate, and create a list of prioritization. And then we essentially secure bids through our contractors and start the work. Again, this is at no cost to any of the homeowners that we serve, because we are, grant based. We are not loan based. All the money that we get from our funders goes into, obviously serving our homeowners and creating the apparatus to serve more. Right now, we are averaging roughly about 24,500 per home. So as you could imagine, sometimes, we just completed a project here a few months ago that, came in about roughly $60,000. But it was 60 grand that, quite frankly, needed to be invested in this home to ensure that it was safe and healthy. So some homes are in much, dire straits than others. Sometimes people just need a little bit of assistance with kind of basic maintenance. But other times, we had a home, I'd say about a year and a half ago. The Titans and Turner Construction were invaluable in assisting us. Jahari Matthews over there is just phenomenal. Herbert Brown. I don't know if any of you all are familiar with Herbert over at Turner. They're just two incredibly wonderful and thoughtful people. They were able to bring some volunteers out, and we quite frankly did about $100,000 worth of work on a woman's home. She had severe termites. There was nothing that we were going to be able to do to the home to bring it up to standard, other than just knock it down. But fortunately, we were able to, working with our contractors, kind of envision taking the house all the way down to its studs and rebuilding it. And quite frankly, we could do more of that. But just like everyone on this call, scarcity of resources is a challenge. And in particular, in this financial climate, this economic climate, have to think more kind of strategically and outside the box to identify where those resources may come from. It's kind of the anatomy of a RT Rebuilding Together project. As you all can probably tell from this call, I'm on the soft skills side of the house. So much of this I can certainly read to you all, but as far as just kind of the day-to-day of what this looks like, I will be frank, I'm not swinging a hammer most days or any day really. So I'll allow you all to read this, and we can certainly share this out at the end to anyone that would like to review it.
Thanks. Yeah.
Mhm. And this is our 25 safe and healthy home housing priorities. These are the 25-point checklist I was alluding to earlier, that our team goes through in each home, ascertaining what the top level issues may be and creating work scopes as a result. And measuring our impact. And I'm looking at time here. How long do we have, Shekinah?
I would say, what time is it? I would say about 5 more minutes.
Okay. Well, look, I know y'all. Everybody sits through these presentations, all day, every day now. So I do want to leave some time for, Q&A. If anybody has any questions, we'll certainly share these slides. We'd love for everybody to have them. And I will certainly give everybody my individual information. If you have any questions about our services or think it's someone that we could assist, maybe that whether through your faith community, civic community, I would love to take those offline, but I'll just open it up for Q&A if anybody has any questions or comments. Would love to hear from you all.
Anton, I'm really curious about, I know you said that you started off at this organization as a volunteer, and at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that you guys were, um, a lot of your staff was just volunteer staff. Is that still the status of the org?
Well, no, we are what, seven individuals now. Our volunteers now, quite frankly, we use kind of strategically to kind of do pre and post kind of touch point work for our contractors. So the classic example is I'll use Jackson National. We just had a build day with them last week. They're one of our strategic partners. Each year they bring out, I'd say anywhere between 10 to 15 volunteers. And the work that we completed for them was in Madison. We had largely done much of the construction work through our contractors, but we needed just kind of basic touch-ups, landscaping, planting of flowers, kind of removal of debris, cutting down limbs and things of that sort, stuff that most volunteers can complete. Again, we always say we don't want to do any type of construction or oriented work that we wouldn't want in our own homes, right? And so we want to make sure that it is bonded, insured, thoughtful, and done to the same scale and level as we would want in our homes. And so, as you can imagine, we don't want volunteers throwing up drywall again, unless they are just skilled. So, like Turner Construction, for instance, when they come out, they're usually bringing people from their structural engineering construction team. So as you can imagine, they can probably do things that most of our corporate partners cannot. But again, if we're having like banks or accounting firms, things of that sort, they're incredibly invaluable. They want to get dirty. They want to do great work. And again, when we're doing smaller kind of home projects, we all can complete those, uh, or most of us, again, probably not me, but most of us can. But the beauty is we want to be able for people to access Rebuilding Together in a variety of different ways, irrespective of level to complete a construction project.
Can you speak a little bit to how you guys do volunteer outreach? Is it mainly corporate? How do you guys kind of, build those relationships with volunteers and sustain them?
Absolutely. So we have the kind of the corporate structure where we build a relationship with Jackson, Amazon, Oracle. Those are some of our partners that we've had volunteer days. We call them home sponsorship days. Excuse me. So essentially what will happen is one of those entities, they pay roughly about $10,000 and they come out, we complete an entire day. We take care of breakfast, we take, coffee, lunch, things of that sort, and we do it on site. Our team creates the work scope and really is responsible for directing the initiative for the day. As you can imagine, a lot of our corporate partners really appreciate giving back and being a part of the build. So that's one apparatus. We also use volunteers through we'll have two of these a year, an all call. We do one every year right around Martin Luther King Day, and we usually do another one in the fall. And that's just a general listserv of all of our volunteers. So that includes individual volunteers, corporate volunteers, anyone that has shown interest in volunteering. We put them on our listserv and then we just shoot out an email blast, roughly about 3 weeks in advance of the project. Again, it's an all call. Sometimes we'll just have a home that just needs 3 or 4 volunteers to come out and do something on a random weekend. And so we'll send that blast out too. So, excuse me. So it really just depends on kind of the scope of work that we need at any given time, how many homes that we have kind of in the hopper, and what that kind of corporate sponsorship build schedule looks like. We're currently accepting, I think we have one or two corporate slots available for the fall. So we're already doing a lot of corporate scheduling of our build days into spring 2026, which is quite frankly a blessing, allows us to really think, strategically and in terms of, forward thinking about how we kind of slot our volunteers. And because the need is so great amongst the city, we always have homes that are ready for assistance.
Thank you for speaking to that. I know a lot of our orgs are just always have curiosities and questions about cultivating a solid team of volunteers. And so just kind of wanted to ask about that. I do want to pause here because we did have an announcement to make before people hop off. I will include Anton's contact information as well as the slides in our newsletter. Feel free to grab this slide from the PowerPoint if you'd like to contact them. But just wanted to pause. I know that we had Ashley on the call as well to give a bit of an announcement for us. And then after that, we'll open the floor for any additional announcements or events if people would like to just come off mute and shout those out. But thank you so much for being able to join us today, Anton. We can't wait to just see how this work continues to develop throughout the city. Can't wait to get involved, collaborate, and all the things. So thank you for joining the Village Call today.
Hey, thank you all very much. Truly, I really appreciate the invitation. Please send my regards to Erica and thank her as well. And anything that we can do to support, obviously the village and anyone on this call, if I can be a resource, I'll give Shekinah my personal cell phone number. Don't hesitate. Give me a call. Anything. I don't say no to coffees, lunches, breakfasts. Yeah, and that's how this world works. And I know that how difficult it is, particularly for African American leaders in the philanthropic and kind of community development space. I've been fortunate that I'm from here and done a variety of different things. So I have a lot of different and varied contexts. So anything that I can do in support of anybody on this call, your organization, the village, or community foundation, don't hesitate to let me know.
Thanks, Anton. While Ashley is teeing up to speak, Anton, do you mind dropping your email in the chat? I see some people are definitely interested in reaching out to you.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey guys. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as you all know, when it comes to marketing, testimonials are key. When people see other people talking about you versus yourself, that's when you can really get the most engagement online. So we are creating a Why I Joined the Village social media campaign, and we really need everybody's help. So we will be on site grabbing some content, and I would love it if some of you would volunteer to be in a video and just share 30 seconds to a minute of why you joined the village and what you like about the village so that we can use that on social. And I know I think it was June 12th, right, Shekinah?
Yep.
June 12th. If you guys can make it to our in-person event, I would love to grab that content. Yeah, just let me know, and I will actually send my email if you know for sure that you can make it so that we can have a time frame to do those recordings. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ashley. And even if anybody says, I can't make it to the village event, but I wouldn't mind swinging by CFMT to, do a video with you guys. If you guys are just in the area, please feel free to reach out to me. If you find yourself in Green Hills this week, next week, anytime in June, and you say, hey, I can swing by and do, a small snippet of a testimonial, I'll be here. And so definitely please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Even if you're interested and you say, hey, you guys can come to me, I just don't have the time to come there, we definitely can coordinate something as well. So if you are interested and available, please just feel free to email me. I'll drop my email in the chat so that we can coordinate some time for that. I do want to pause to use the rest of our time. If anybody would like to come off mute, shout out any events that they have happening that they'd like to share with us before we hop off, please do so at this time.
Hey, Shekinah, this is Esther. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Good Wednesday to you. So with Elimo, you know that in April we usually have our conference. The conference was so successful that we were asked by the Red Cross and the Dr. Scott Foundation to see, Sickle Cell Foundation, to see if we can hold another health fair that will be concentrated in blood drive, but at the same time, we're looking into more information, more vendors and more mobile units to be there. So this health fair is going to be in August 30th. All the information is going to come. Right now, we're preparing all the marketing pieces. I just wanted to do a preliminary announcement. It's going to be August 30th, and we're going to start from 9 o'clock to 2:30 at the Community Foundation. So stay tuned for all the marketing information coming to you. And if you know anyone who would like to be our vendor, please reach out to me. And I'll put my information in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Esther. Super excited for that. Super excited to see you in the building. Anybody else need to come off mute?
Hi, everybody. This is CJ. I put a flyer in the chat. This is for our summer camp that's coming up on June 16. It starts June 16. I put the flyer and the registration link. It is a free camp for families who are dealing with cancer and children. So if you are, you know anyone, please share it with your network. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. Anyone else need to come off mute before we hop off? Alrighty, well, so happy you guys could join us today. Thank you again, Anton, for being able to join us. I see that people's contact info is being dropped in the chat. I'll stay on a few extra minutes if you guys need to capture anything in the chat. In the meantime, we'll see you next week. Don't forget, we will have Erica Burnett and Brittany Irby on our call next week, talking a little bit about the Imagine Nashville findings, and then we'll follow up with that with an in-person Village Town Hall. All of that information will be in our newsletter. Also, our web series with Emily, that will be forward facing on our YouTube page for about another week before we remove that and make that access to just exclusively Village members. So if you guys would like to share that before we take that down, please do so. And we will see you next week. Be safe, enjoy the rest of your week, and can't wait to see y'all.